Let's start it again. Hello Newcastle, this is FC Palser for the Newcastle Advertiser, and I am here with Michelle van Onna Green Thompson. Ne? Van Onna Green Thompson.
Van Onna Green Thompson.
Yes.
Yeah.
She used to be a local girl.
Yes, still am at heart,
A Newcastillian.
Yes.
She lives in Newcastle now, and she wrote this book called Those Who Travel Meet Themselves.
Yep.
So, Michelle,
Yes.
let's talk about your book.
Let's FC.
Okay, so first of all, it's obviously, like the title says, those who travel meet themselves.
Yeah.
What's the idea behind the book? How did you decide to write it?
Okay, so the idea behind the book was South Africa soon will be 25 years old in its democracy,
Yes.
which is quite young. I mean, imagine how you feel like when you're 25.
Yes,
You
yes.
feel like the world's at your feet. And so it was almost as a reflection back on that journey of, first being confined to certain spaces,
Yes.
and now being open to new spaces, and how people have used their experiences to define themselves and use travel by getting out of the demarcated spaces or places of comfort, as I like to call them.
Yes, yes.
Because eventually you get so used to where you are that you don't actually think about leaving. And how they've used travel to create a life for themselves. So we have some local people from Newcastle
Yes.
who have really done amazing things, and it's ordinary South Africans telling their stories and sharing their stories. And I'm so happy that at least two of them are from Newcastle,
Yeah.
Ubuhle Dlamini and Uthandukolo Zulu. So they really, and Thandukolo recently was in Portugal, where he met Jose Mourinho, but you have to buy the book to read the whole
find out
story.
what happened.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're basically saying is it's about broadening your horizons.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
living life.
Yeah, living life
Okay.
entirely.
'Cause-
And there's that perception of YOLO, you only live once.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Exactly.
And sometimes the connotations with YOLO have always been rather negative, But
Yeah.
instead, I believe that YOLO should be an exemplification of living your best life. So how can you use the different things that you experience and the growth that you experience when you travel? For instance, when I started my travel, I started in Newcastle, My
Yes.
parents
Yes,
were
yes.
always people who believe that on Sunday you should go for a Sunday drive. And when I went for my first land service camp, and I was still at Arbor Park at the time, Mrs. Strickland took me on my first land service camp, and that's when I would say the bug finally bit me.
Yeah.
In the sense that I all of a sudden traveled by myself.
You caught us on our day that we have our air show as well. So now we can show the people that Newcastle is more than just movies, eh?
Yeah, it's more than just movies, and I'm hoping that the airport finally, is operational.
Well, it's gorgeous.
It's
you should see it. You should
beautiful,
visit it.
it's
It's
beautiful.
So me personally haven't traveled yet.
Yes,
The farthest I've traveled is
Yeah.
from Pretoria to Newcastle.
yes,
I recently moved here.
yeah.
So, why should I travel? Why should I travel? Should I see other countries? Should I see more of my country, and why? Why would you say?
I think every South African should see more of South Africa. More of South Africa, more of Africa. There are
Yes.
so many opportunities out there for us to grow, for us to experience
Yes.
ourselves in other people, And so I promise you, I'm sure, people in Pretoria are different from people in Newcastle.
Yes.
There are things that are the same about us, but there are things that you learn on that side that necessarily you might not have come across in Newcastle, and vice versa.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I think that's the big thing about travel, is that sometimes even our own prejudices are brought out in front of us.
Yeah.
And travel gives you the opportunity to deal with it and get over it. Or you can just hold on to it.
To
But it's
broaden your
always a choice.
horizons,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
To learn how to understand other cultures better.
Yes, and figure
Yes.
yourself out, and
Yes.
figure your space out as well, and what you bring to your community.
Yeah.
Each and every one of us bring something to our community. And our community isn't just where we live. It's everybody that we touch as we go along our lives. You know, how are you impacting people? Is it positive? Is it negative? You have to ask yourself that. And you experience it every time you experience someone new, you know. And you learn things about yourself, and you ask yourself, is this something that I should hold on to and keep in my life? Or is this something I can give up? You know? You could go to Asia and you say, oh, I hate Asian food. And then you get there, and it's the only food you have. What are you going to do?
Yes, exactly.
You know?
So, when you put yourself in a bigger pond or start discovering other ponds, then you suddenly realize that you're not such a big fish.
Absolutely.
That's basically the...
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because I promise you, you're always the biggest fish in the town where everybody knows you.
Yes. So the book, is it short stories? Is it a how-to travel guide? What exactly are we going to read in this?
So it's not a how-to travel guide. It's more of short stories that are there to inspire you. So that you can read someone else's journey and see how they stumbled, the challenges they had, the fun they had in this particular place. Will you have the same fun if you go there? I mean, these are all questions that we ask ourselves when we're reading something. And, you know, the pain that they might have experienced in a specific place, you might not have ever experienced that pain in that specific place. So it's short stories because it allows people, you know, sometimes we don't have time to read a book from first to end. So it allows people to drop in and drop out. As you know, if you're sitting at a doctor's practice, you can quickly read a story and finish a story, you know, whilst you wait in the queue or whilst you're getting your hair cut. But I don't think men have that problem as much as
and
we
then
women
suddenly,
do.
you'd be surprised, and then suddenly you are part of a bigger world through the eyes of
Absolutely, because that's
not only yourself, but these few people.
Yes. Absolutely. And you know, there's 9 over there, but there's more actually inside. Unfortunately, I couldn't get everyone on the cover. But you know, it's a work in progress, and I think it's when we start unpacking travel for ourselves. You know, it's. I was having a discussion with someone this morning who was saying they've never been in an airplane before. They're just scared of it. And so, you know, just even getting on an aircraft is an experience in itself, you know. Going to an air show is an experience. So it's about all these opportunities that we are given to experience something new. Take them.
You talked earlier about your primary school.
Yes.
And where the bug bit you.
Yes.
Do you remember your first travel experience overseas? Where did you go to? How was it?
My first travel experience overseas. My first travel experience overseas was to South Korea.
Okay.
I got lost for 7 hours.
Oh.
I wanted to cry. And
were you on your own?
My mother, yes, I was by myself.
Oh no. Okay.
And I was supposed to arrive at 4 o'clock in the town that I was going to. I arrived the next morning at 3:30.
Oh,
so
no.
almost 4 o'clock. Almost 4 o'clock, but 3:30 in the morning.
Yes.
So but what an experience. You know, I always say each experience is always life-changing in a different way. So you never know how it's going to change you. And you can never know that before you start the trip. You never, you know.
And I take my hat off to you because I got lost in OR Tambo once. My mom was actually traveling, and when I saw her off, I had to get to the car, and it took me, I think, 3 hours to
get out of
find my car.
That's exactly it.
So that's what's happening to you in the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
So Newcastle, earlier I had 3 takes of this video because I struggled to pronounce her surname. Michelle is married to a Dutch guy.
Yes, she is.
Did she meet him on one of her travels? Where did you meet your husband?
Actually, I did meet him on one of my travels. I met him on an experience. So a friend of mine had invited me to come with her to badminton. And I was like, what is that? And she was like, you know, there's a shuttle.
Yes.
And I said, oh, table tennis. No, badminton. Okay, cool. So anyways, we went through and he sat across from me. And you would notice when this very tall guy walks in and sits across from me and says hello. So I did notice how tall he was.
Yeah, the Dutch are the tall people.
Yes. So I met him through a friend at when I was trying out something I've never played before. So essentially, that's how I met him.
Yes. And can you speak Dutch now? Do you visit
Yes,
the
we were
Netherlands?
there in April. We were there
Alright.
in April to visit the family, and I'm going to be fluent by next year. So
I will
but
hold you to
no,
that. I think we
Afrikaans,
should.
but-
I think we should do a follow-up video.
Yes, we must. We must do a
I
follow-up
did
video.
Dutch as a subject at university, so I can speak Dutch, not fluently, but I
Yes,
can.
yeah.
So the next interview we're going to have it in Dutch.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
That's a hell of a challenge, but I'll take it.
All right. So, if anyone wants to know something about your book, want to buy your book,
Yes.
where do they get it?
Okay, so we've got a website,
All right.
www.nomadicmichelle.com, and that's where you can order the book online. We're still looking for places to stock it. I was quite taken aback at the fact, and I didn't realize that in Newcastle we only have one bookstore, and it's Bargain Books.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I suppose it's kind of figuring out the logistics, but perhaps it would be an interesting thing, to have maybe a pop-up bookstore that happens once a month for the community, because I'd like us to become bigger readers.
Yes.
There's so much that we
Yes,
can
yes.
do, and your first instance of traveling most of the time is through a book. When you read about the Amazon, sometimes
Yeah.
when the first time I read about a lot of things was the first time I'd encountered them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
Okay. So there you have it, Newcastle. Get yourself the book.
get yourself a copy.
Those who travel meet themselves. So get the book, get bitten by the bug, go overseas and meet yourself.
And go within South Africa. Go around Africa. I think I'm gonna have to take FC to Kenya with me.
You most definitely must, yes. I'll climb in your back pocket when you
Yes.
go again. Thank you very much, Newcastle.